Hello everyone! We starting a second seminar in Basics of Computer Graphics subject. Today's lecture will guide for you seminar teacher Domina Inessa Anatolievna. The topic of today's seminar is transforming objects and what we need to know to work effectively. Aim of this lesson is transforming objects. Here we will learn how to copy objects, rotate them, say all basic manipulations with objects. Shaping objects. Here we will learn how to create curves. We will be introduced with understanding what is nodes and segments. Grouping objects. In this section we will learn how to group objects and what is stack of objects. Combining objects. How to join, weld, cut objects relatively each other. So let us start. In order to move or copy objects across the workspace, you must use the Object Selection tool. To move an object in the space of the worksheet or working window, using the Object Selection tool, left-click mouse on the object, grab it and move it. If we want to copy an object in the same way, using the Object Selection tool, click on the object and hold down the left mouse button and move the object. Then fix it by clicking the right mouse button. This manipulation needs to be worked out several times to fix the process of copying objects. If to make double click on the object, you will see that marks of this object took a different shape. On the angles, you can see arrows. If to pull these arrows, the object will turn relatively to the center. Also, to create exact object, for example square with equal sides or circle, you have to press and hold Ctrl key and create the object. Let's pay attention to the Shape tool. It is located in the main drawing toolbar on the left side of the workspace by default. This tool is mainly used for editing object nodes and creating complex shapes. Here we see a rectangle, and using the Shape command, it can only round the corners. Take tool shape and hover above black markings which appear on angles of the square. Pull the cursor. All four corners simultaneously get a round shape. Now we will create more rectangles to see the difference in parameters. First one will be with square angles. For second one, we will change parameter setting toolbar. This time we will take notched corners. Again pull markings and we will get corresponding angles. On the third rectangle we will take chamfer. Let's do the same action and on third rectangle we will get corresponding angles. In Setting toolbar, you can add exact size for chamfer you need. For example, if you want 10 millimeters, so all four angles will get shape of chamfer with size of 10 millimeters. But what if we want to change only one angle? On the Setting toolbar, unlock the key, and now you can change parameters for one angle. Now let's check how Shape tool will work on circle. On the circle, choosing Shape tool, we can't see black markings, but only one small node. Let's pull this node and we can see that circle getting shape of section. On the Setting toolbar, we can see that section option chosen automatically. If we will click on arc option, section will turn into arc. And we will make experiment with polygon. On the Setting toolbar, we will add more angles to polygon, for example 7. Here on the polygon we can see more nodes. Pull one node, so you can see that polygon getting shape of star. You can pull these nodes in or out. If to pull the nodes on sides, so you can see that shape getting some interesting star. On the Settings toolbar, we can see that options this time not available. It means that to make more modification for this shape, we cannot. But what if we want to make more complicated shape? For example, to pull only one angle aside, or to apply more nodes. Let's again we will do experiment with rectangle. As you remember, we can get only fixed shape of angles: round, notched, and chamfer. A curved object has nodes and control handles, which you can use to change the object's shape. A curved object can be any shape, including a straight or curved line. An object's nodes are the small squares that appear along the object's outline. The line between two nodes is called a segment. Segment can be curved or straight. Each node has a control handle for each curved segment connected to it. Control handles help you adjust the curve of a segment. Curved objects created in CorelDRAW follow a path that gives them their defining shape. A path can be open, for example a line, or closed, for example an ellipse. and can sometimes include subpaths. Most objects that are added to a drawing are not curve objects, with the exception of spiral, freehand lines and Bezier lines. Therefore, if you want to customize the shape of an object or text object, it is recommended that you convert it to a curve object. To transform shape into curve object, you can choose commands in three ways. First, select the object. Click on the setting toolbar the command Convert to Curves. Second way, select the object and click right mouse button. From submenu, choose the option Convert to Curves. And third way, after selecting the object, here in submenu you can see key combination Ctrl plus Q. To select a node, first step, in the toolbox click the Shape tool. Second, select a curve object. Third, click a node. To move a node, drag the node until you achieve the desired shape. CorelDRAW's line model is based on two concepts, node and segment. A node is a point on the image plane that fixes the position of one of the ends of the curve segment. A segment is a part of a curve that connects two adjacent nodes. Nodes and segments are inextricably linked to each other. In a closed line, there are many nodes as there are segments. In an open line, one more node. Any curve in CorelDRAW is made up of nodes and segments, and all curve operations are actually operations on them. A node completely determines the nature of the segment preceding it. Therefore, for an open line, it is important to know which of its two extreme nodes is the initial one, and for a closed line, the direction of the line, clockwise or counterclockwise. According to the nature of the preceding segments, three types of nodes are distinguished: the initial node of an open curve, as well as straight and curved nodes. You can select individual, multiple, or all of the object's nodes. Selecting multiple nodes lets you shape different parts of an object simultaneously. You can mark select nodes by enclosing them with a rectangular marquee box, or by enclosing them with an irregularly shaped mark box. Freehand mark selection is useful when you want to select specific nodes in complex curves. When a node is selected on curved segments, control handles are displayed. You can adjust the shape of the curved segment by moving the nodes and controlling handles. For nodes adjacent to at least one curved segment, there is another type classification. They are subdivided into breakpoints, cusp, and smooth nodes, smooth. A special case of a smoothed node is a symmetrical node, but this can only be a node located between two curved segments. On the next presentation, you can see how we can manipulate with nodes. Operations with multiple objects. To create objects of a more complex and precise shape, a number of operations are used that make it possible to automate the process of creating various shapes. For example, merging two or more different shapes into one or subtracting another from one shape, which ultimately will give a more complex outline. Grouping objects. When you group two or more objects, they are treated as a single unit, but retain their individual attributes. Grouping lets you apply the same formatting, properties, and other changes to all the objects within the group at the same time. In addition, grouping helps prevent accidental changes to the position of an object in relation to other objects. You can also create nested groups by grouping together existing groups. You can add objects to or remove objects from a group, and you can delete objects that are members of a group. You can also edit a single object in a group without ungrouping the objects. If you want to edit multiple objects in a group at the same time, you must first ungroup the objects. If a group contains nested groups, you can ungroup all objects in the nested groups simultaneously. To group object, select the objects, click Object, Group, Group Objects. To ungroup objects, select one or more groups, click Object, Group, and click one of the following commands. Ungroup objects, breaks a group into individual objects or a nested group into multiple groups. Ungroup all objects. Breaks one or more groups into individual objects, including objects within nested groups. Combining objects. Combining two or more objects create a single object with common fill and outline attributes. You can combine rectangles, ellipses, polygons, stars, spirals, graphs, or text so that they are converted to a single curve object. If you need to modify the attributes of an object that has been combined from separate objects, you can break apart the combined object. You can extract a subpath from a combined object to create two separate objects. You can also weld two or more objects to create a single object. Let's see what happens if we apply those commands to two intersecting selected objects. Welding. Combine objects into one common object with a common fill and outline. Fitting. Cut out part of the object relative to another by its form. Intersection. Will create the shape of the object in place of intersecting two or more objects. Simplification. Fit overlapping areas of objects, essentially the same as command field. Front minus back. Remove the background object from the main object. Back minus front. Remove the main object from the background object. Create outline. Creates a new object along the outline of the surrounding selected objects. The original shapes are removed. Aligning and distributing objects. CorelDRAW lets you precisely align and distribute objects in a drawing. You can align objects with each other and with parts of the drawing page, such as the center, edges, and grid. When you align objects with objects, you can line them up by their center or their edges. You can align multiple objects horizontally or vertically with the center of the drawing page. Single or multiple objects can also be arranged along the edge of the page and to the nearest point on a grid. You can also align object with a reference point by specifying its exact X and Y coordinates. Distributing objects automatically adds spacing between them based on their width, height, and center points. You can distribute objects so that their center points or selected edges, for example top or right, appear at equal intervals. You can also distribute objects so that there is equal space between them. You can distribute objects over the extent of the bounding box surrounding them or over the entire drawing page. To align the objects, select the objects. In the Align area of the Docker, click one of the following buttons to use an object's edge or center for aligning. Align left to align the left edges of objects. Align center horizontally. To align object centers, along a vertical axis. Align right to align the right edges of objects. Align top to align the top edges of objects. Align center vertically to align object centers along a horizontal axis. And align bottom to align the bottom edges of objects. To align objects from their outlines, click the Outline button. Stack of objects. Stack of objects is a metaphor that allows you to better visualize the order in which the objects that make up a CorelDRAW drawing are displayed on the screen or printed. The main reason this is important has to do with how partially or completely overlapping objects are reproduced. By convention, in CorelDRAW, objects with an opaque fill enclose the objects in the stack below them. By default, the newly created object is placed at the very top of the stack. We already know that every newly created object is placed at the very top of the object stack. To move an object in the stack to a different position, you can use one of the commands of the submenu Order, of the Arrange menu, or the Object Manager. Now we will turn into practical part. Look at these pictures attentionally. All these logos made up from geometrical shapes with different combined operations. Some of geometrical shapes you have to weld. Some of them cut relatively each other. Also, you have to use here copy commands of objects and align and distribution. Create curves and manipulate with nodes and segments. Say all the operations which we learned just now. Try to reproduce the same logos in these exercises. You have to apply logic and think how you can combine these objects, for example to weld two objects in one with symmetrical line. Try to hold symmetry. It is very important. And take attention on joints where two objects intersect each other. Try to make it straight. First time it will be really difficult for you, but finally it's worth it to do. It will be good experience to fix the knowledge which you got in this lesson. And on this point, we will finish our seminar. See you later.